My own son once looked me in the eye and said, "Mom, you're overreacting. It's just the garage." He had no idea that space-cramped cold packed with storage boxes was where they expected me to disappear quietly, like an old coat shoved into the back of a closet. And when I finally walked out and built a life of my own, I thought I'd left the worst behind. I was wrong. Because fate, with its strange sense of humor, sent me right back to their doorstep as the consultant who would determine whether their unpermitted garage conversion could cost them their entire home. Imagine that twist the woman they shoved aside suddenly holding the flashlight on all their hidden cracks. Life, I've learned, bends like a pretzel, messy, tangled, and full of unexpected loops. Stay with me. Because what happened next didn't just expose their secrets, it exposed mine. And if you keep listening, I promise you'll witness a moment so shocking it shifted the entire power of our family forever. My name is Marion Pierce, and the day my son and his wife told me to leave their home, the world didn't collapse in one loud crash. It cracked quietly, like thin ice under unwary feet. One moment, I was standing in their converted garage, folding baby clothes I had washed, and the next Lila looked up from her phone and said in the flattest voice I'd ever heard, "I don't want a useless old woman around when I'm this far along. It stresses me out." Useless old woman. 64 years of raising a son alone, working double shifts, building a life from nothing. And that was the legacy I had apparently earned. Evan stood beside her, not angry, not conflicted, not even sad, just quietly agreeing, like he was commenting on the weather. "Mom, you should start looking for another place. It'll be better for everyone. Better for everyone. Except me." Something inside me tightened, not anger exactly, but a deep, humiliating sting. You don't raise a child to expect gratitude, but you do assume they'll remember who stayed, who sacrificed, who held the pieces together when life tried to scatter them. I had sold my own 3-bedroom home, my sanctuary, for $50,000 to help them buy this house on Willowcrest Lane. I'd moved into their garage, conversion, paid rent, washed their dishes, cooked their meals, handled laundry, and helped Lila through a difficult pregnancy. I had been useful, necessary, present. But in that moment, I understood the truth. I wasn't family. I was labor. Still, my voice came out steady, almost too calm. "Where am I supposed to go?" Evan Layla shrugged. "There are senior communities, assisted living, places for people your age. People your age." She said it slowly, like 64 made me ancient. Disposable. I looked at Evan. I waited for him to at least soften what she'd said. For him to remind her I was the one who raised him alone after his father vanished, but he wouldn't even meet my eyes. That told me more than any sentence spoken that afternoon. Something shifted in me then. A boundary I'd ignored for years began rising inch by inch, demanding that I finally see things clearly. "Fine," I said. "I'll be out by the weekend." Lila smirked a small, victorious curl of the lips. Evan looked relieved that his mother wasn't putting up a fight. As I walked back to the garage, I felt my heart pounding less from hurt now, and more from something sharper. A quiet, simmering clarity. The kind that comes when you've been underestimated for far too long. Because what they didn't know was that I'd already begun preparing for the day their courtesy ran out. I'd already visited a small apartment downtown in Ridgewood, Oregon, a modest place, but bright, clean, and mine. I'd already filled out an application with Holloway Development Group after a chance conversation with its CEO, Grant Holloway. He was planning a massive redevelopment project, and he needed someone who understood the quirks of older neighborhoods. Someone with experience with renovations, someone who paid attention, someone like me. Grant had asked about Willowcrest Lane the very first time we spoke. He didn't know my son lived there. He just saw potential value. And I, still hurting from Lila's constant disdain, had remained silent and simply listened. A silence that unknowingly would become the first domino in everything that followed. Back in the garage, gathering the few belongings I had brought into their home, I overheard something that cemented my resolve forever. Lila's voice traveled from the kitchen, careless and cutting. She only stayed here to avoid paying rent somewhere else. At least we got free babysitting out of it. Free babysitting, so that's what I was worth. Not the rent I paid, not the meals I cooked, not the nights I stayed awake helping her through contractions and panic attacks. Just babysitting. That sentence did something to me. It untangled guilt from logic, shame from truth, motherhood from martyrdom. For the first time in years, I felt myself sit taller, breathe deeper, see clearly. By Friday, I had signed the lease on my new apartment. By Saturday, a moving truck arrived. Evan watched the movers carry out my boxes with genuine shock on his face, like he'd expected me to crumble or beg. Lila stood behind him, hand on her belly, trying to hide the flicker of regret in her eyes. "You found a place that fast?" Evan asked. "Amazing what people can accomplish when they're motivated," I answered. They didn't know I had been preparing for months. They didn't know Holloway Development Group had offered me a consulting role, finally recognizing skills my own family had dismissed. They didn't know the neighborhood on Willowcrest Lane was already under evaluation for major redevelopment, meaning every code violation, including their illegal garage conversion, would soon be exposed. They didn't know I had options now. But I did. And as I climbed into my car, garage finally emptied life, finally untangled, I felt a strange peace. A new beginning humming beneath my ribs. But behind that peace was something else, a question that wouldn't let go. How far would Evan and Lila go when they realized I wasn't there to clean up their chaos anymore? And what happens when people who believe they're in control discover they never really were? Tell me, if you were in my place, would you have walked away without confronting them? And do you think Evan or Lila truly understand what they've set in motion? Leaving their driveway felt like stepping out of a storm and into clean air. But peace never stays still for long. It shifts, thickens, grows teeth. Mine certainly did, because just 3 days after moving into my new apartment on Alder Ridge, my phone buzzed with a call that snapped everything into motion. It was Grant Holloway. "Marion," he said warmly, "your references came back excellent. Welcome aboard. Your first assignment is evaluating a property on Willowcrest Lane." I froze. Which address, I asked, even though dread already curled in my stomach. He read the numbers aloud. Evan and Lila's house. A strange electric calm settled over me. I hadn't orchestrated this, but life has a funny way of circling back, like a boomerang you never meant to throw. The next morning, Grant and I met at a small cafe near the neighborhood. He arrived with building plans tucked under his arm and the enthusiasm of a man who saw opportunity everywhere. For the first time in a long time, someone valued my experience. Not my compliance. Not my silence. My mind. As we walked to my son's home, I tried to prepare myself. I told myself to stay neutral, professional, detached. But you can't detach from the place where your heart was broken. You can only walk toward it with your spine straighter than before. When Evan opened the door and saw me standing beside Grant, clipboard in hand, he looked like the ground had tilted beneath him. "Mom," he whispered. I smiled politely. "Good morning, Evan. This is Mr. Holloway. We're here to conduct a property assessment." Lila appeared behind him, clutching her belly, her face draining of color. "What is she doing here?" she snapped in a panic. "Dorothy is my consultant," Grant said. "She knows the neighborhood well." That shook them. I could see it, the realization that I had a life, a role, a purpose outside the narrow one they'd assigned me. I wasn't the woman in the garage anymore. I wasn't their safety net. I wasn't theirs at all. Inside the house, the silence was brittle. Grant walked room to room with measured steps, occasionally asking about square footage or structural updates. I kept my eyes on my clipboard, but my mind flashed through every memory in that living room, folding laundry while Lila scrolled her phone, Evan promising I wasn't a burden, me believing him like a fool. After finishing the interior, we stepped into the garage. The illegal garage conversion. Grant didn't miss a thing. The uneven flooring, the wiring Evan and I had done together years ago, the lack of permits. Those details were harmless once, but not anymore. Not with redevelopment looming. As we finished our rounds, Grant made his pitch. "I'm prepared to offer you $450,000 for the property," he told them. "Cash. Fast closing." Lila gasped. Evan swallowed hard. That's a lot of money," he whispered. "But we're not selling." Lila shot back sharply. Grant nodded. You don't have to. But the city is moving forward with infrastructure updates, new sewer lines, new wiring fiber internet. Construction will get loud, messy, disruptive. And during that period, they'll have to inspect garage conversions and any unpermitted work in the area. Evan went pale. Lila's voice cracked. Unpermitted. The garage was like this when we bought it. I tilted my head. No, it wasn't. Her glare could have cut glass. Grant left them with his card and a deadline. 5 days. Outside on their porch, I inhaled the cool Oregon air as though it were the first real breath I'd taken in months. I turned to them. I hope you make the right choice, I said gently. For your family. But the truth was, I didn't even know what the right choice looked like anymore. Not for them. Not for me. That evening, my phone erupted. Evan, Lila, unknown numbers. I didn't answer a single one. I cooked myself dinner, lit a candle, played soft music. I was building a new life, and for once it wasn't centered around anyone else's comfort. But when I finally answered Evan's 6th call the next morning, the edge in his voice cut straight through the phone. Mom, what the hell is happening? You let that guy target our house. I didn't let anything happen, I said. He was already searching for properties. I simply provided accurate information. You're trying to destroy us. His panic was real, but so was my exhaustion. Months, years of feeling invisible didn't vanish just because he was scared now. Evan, the development was going to happen, whether I lived with you or not. I was trying to protect you before. You didn't want that. A long silence stretched between us. I could hear him struggling to swallow his pride. I didn't know about the permits. We can fix this, right? You should have thought about fixing things when you threw me out of your garage, I replied softly. He exhaled shakily. Mom, we need you. There it was. The truth behind everything. They needed me now, not before. Not when I needed support, only now when consequences were circling like hawks. Later that afternoon, a desperate knock rattled my apartment door. When I opened it, Lila stood there, eyes swollen, breath shaky. Her voice broke before she finished a sentence. Please, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Her apology shook something loose in me, something old, something fragile. But apologies born of fear are not the same as apologies born of love. I'm not the villain here, I told her quietly. You made choices. I'm just standing where those choices placed me. But we're family, she whispered. No, I answered gently. Family doesn't throw each other away. Her tears fell hard and fast, but so had mine long before she ever noticed. By the time she left shaken and trembling, I realized something profound. I wasn't angry anymore. I was tired. And tired people don't seek revenge. They seek truth. That night, I stared at the ceiling and wondered what would happen next. Would they sell, fight, break, change? And more importantly, where did my heart stand in all of it? Tell me, if you were in my position, would you forgive them this early? And do you think their fear is genuine remorse or just panic now that consequences are closing in? I wish I could say I marched into the final chapter of this mess with perfect clarity. But healing rarely arrives like that. It comes in small tremors, in soft realizations, in the fragile courage to stand still when everything around you wants to pull you back into the past. And that was exactly where I stood 2 days later, when Grant called with unexpected news. Dorothy, he said the city moved up the review schedule. They're inspecting unpermitted structures tomorrow morning. Your son's house is on the list. My breath caught. Not because I wanted them to suffer, but because consequences have a way of hitting hardest when they're ignored the longest. I sat there for a long moment, the phone warm in my hand, weighing something far heavier than real estate violations. This wasn't about a garage anymore. It was about the years I spent shrinking, so they could feel tall the nights I slept on a cot, while they slept soundly upstairs, the meals I cooked alone while they scrolled their phones and laughed. Maybe life was finally demanding a truth none of us wanted to face. Still, when I saw Evan and Lila the next morning, standing on their porch, fear dripping from their faces, I felt the ache of motherhood rise like a tide I'd never completely escaped. Mom, Evan whispered, we're scared. For a moment, I almost retreated into old habits. Fix this for them, smooth it over, erase myself again. But something inside me steadied like a floor finally leveling after years of tilt. You both created this situation, I said softly. You lied about the garage. You made choices without thinking of the consequences. Lila covered her face. Evan exhaled shakily, but I continued. I won't let the city tear your life apart if you're willing to change how you treat the people who love you. Their eyes snapped up. What does that mean? Evan asked. It means repairing the garage legally. It means owning your mistakes. And it means understanding that family is built on respect, not convenience. It wasn't a threat. It was a boundary. And boundaries, I've learned, aren't walls. They're doors that only open to people willing to knock with sincerity. When the inspectors arrived, I stepped forward, not as their savior, but as a consultant who knew the system and was ready to guide them if they were ready to listen. Grant joined us shortly afterward, and together, we walked the officials through the structure, explaining what needed to be fixed, what could be salvaged, and what would require immediate repair. For the first time in years, Evan didn't argue. Lila didn't glare. They listened, really listened. After the inspectors left, leaving behind a long but manageable list of corrections, Lila approached me with hesitant steps. I was cruel to you, she whispered. I took advantage of your kindness. And when you left, I blamed you for the emptiness you didn't create. Her voice cracked raw and trembling. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. For the first time, her words didn't feel like panic or manipulation. They felt like truth scraped clean. Then Evan stepped toward me, shoulders low, eyes wet. I forgot you're a person before you're my mom, he said. I won't forget again. Something inside me loosened like a knot that had held too long. Not forgiveness, not yet, but space. Space for healing, for rebuilding, for understanding that love doesn't erase hurt, but it can coexist with it if both sides are willing. Over the following weeks, Grant and I helped them navigate permits planning and the legal process. Evan worked late into the evening, repainting, rewiring, rebuilding. Lila prepared meals and left one at my apartment every night, quiet gestures, small but meaningful. One night, as we stood outside watching contractors finalize the last repairs, Evan turned to me. Mom, you don't have to move back. But can we at least start over? Not reset, not pretend nothing happened, just begin again. I nodded. Yes, but this time as equals. He smiled through tears. I'd like that. I walked home slowly, the warm glow of neighborhood lights flickering like a row of tiny lanterns guiding me forward. When I reached my apartment, I paused at my window. The world outside felt softer, the air lighter, and inside myself, something finally settled. Not revenge, not triumph, but peace, the kind that comes when you stop making yourself small just to fit inside someone else's comfort. Healing, I realized, looks a lot like a sunrise, quiet, steady, and impossible to rush. And as the sky shifted from dusk to blue, one truth rose with it. No one can take your worth from you the moment you stop handing it over. Now let me ask you, would you have given your family another chance after everything they did? And do you believe people can truly change if they're willing to face themselves? What do you think about this story? And where in the world are you watching from? Thank you for staying with me through this journey. If this story touched you, comment number 3 below. If it felt average, choose number 2. If it didn't land for you, comment number 1. And if you'd like to support more stories like this, please like, send a heart, and share this video. I'll see you in the next heartfelt story.